in most towns and cities. Saturday will start dry with some sunshine over the Midlands, East Anglia, the southeast of England, and much of southern Scotland may well stay fine. But northwest Scotland wet and windy, and elsewhere, look at this, the heavy showers just develop as we go through the day. So dodging the downpours on Saturday afternoon. There will be some sunshine between the showers and temperatures getting up into the high teens, maybe low 20s across the southeast. So generally cool for the time of year. A cool start to Sunday. Again, many will start dry, fine with some sunshine, but again, the shower clouds will develop through the day. Perhaps not as many as on Saturday, and parts of Wales may well have a dry afternoon before more cloud and rain comes into the northwest later on. And again, for most places, on the cool side. Goodbye.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often there will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Very good evening to you. I'm Aaron Armstrong in the GB newsroom. Let's get you up to date with the headlines. The head of the British Museum's resigned and his deputy has stepped back in the wake of a scandal over stolen artefacts. Director Hartwig Fisher admitted the museum did not respond as comprehensively as it should have in response to warnings in 2021 about the missing treasures. Deputy Director Jonathan Williams will step back until an independent review has been concluded. Police are investigating the matter. Millions of households are expected to pay more for their energy this winter, despite a reduction of the price cap. Energy regulator Ofgem says bills will be £151 cheaper from October the 1st, with average households paying just under £2,000 a year. However, experts at the Resolution Foundation say the reduction of government support and a small increase in the standing charge will push bills up for 7.2 million people across the UK. However, the Prime Minister maintains the price cap cut is good for everyone.
We took decisive action after Putin's illegal war to help families by imposing a windfall tax on energy companies, using that money to provide about £1,500 of support to a typical household. But I know things are still tough, and that's why we are working night and day to bring down inflation so that the money in people's pockets can go further.
Members of a gang who organised people smuggling crossings from France and Belgium to the UK have been sentenced to a total of 13 years in prison. Albanians Banet Tashana, Claudian Shinaj, Jetmir Mirtaj and the British national Desmond Rice were jailed for a number of crossings using an inflatable boat. The National Crime Agency is appealing for information on the whereabouts of another man, Arsene Fetchy, aged 44, from Nottingham. World Cup winner Jenny Hermoso says she did not consent to being kissed by the president of the Spanish FA. Hermoso and 80 other players have confirmed they will not play for the national team again until Luis Rubiales resigns. He so far refused to step down after kissing Hermoso on the lips after Spain beat England in the final. The Spanish government's joined FIFA in launching legal action against the 46-year-old. A man's been arrested on suspicion of murder following the disappearance of a 54-year-old woman in Kent. Claire Knights from Upstreet near Canterbury was last seen in the village on the 23rd of August. It's understood she was walking her spaniel from there to Birchington. A man in his 20s from Margate has been arrested on suspicion of murder. This is GB News across the UK. On TV, on digital radio and on your smart speaker too. That's it from me. Now it's time for Headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, the paper preview show with a difference. 3 comedians take you through the next day's newspapers. I'm one of them, I'm Leo Kearson. Tonight I'm joined by GB News' answer to Bert and Ernie. It's Paul Cox and Lewis Schaefer.
Superb.
How are you both doing, chaps?
Great, thanks. All the better for seeing you, Leo, and of course being with... Am you my Ernie? Am I your Bert? How's this work?
I know one of them is tall and skinny, and the other one is... big and fat.
We'll let the audience make their minds up.
Well, before this becomes a hate crime, let's have a look at Saturday's front pages. The Mirror leads with big fat lies. Trump mugs off America. The Times has weight loss drugs hold key to heart failure cure. The Guardian leads with British Museum boss steps down over theft scandal. The Daily Mail has killed in his own home by a gang of dog nappers. The Daily Express has murdered in his own home by dog nappers, that same story again. And finally, the Daily Star has what a mug, Donald Grump, man baby, sulks in jail. And those were your front pages. And let's have a closer look at those front pages, starting with the Mirror, Paul. What have they got?
Big fat lies, of course, referring to Trump's mugshot on the front of every newspaper today and tomorrow. Look, as much as I'm told I should absolutely hate Donald Trump, the contrarian within me...
I'm not telling you that.
You've not told me that.
I think he's a cool guy.
The Mirror's telling me that. However, the contrarian in me and seeing the culture war rumble on the way it does... I admire him. I admire him because he annoys all the right people as far as I'm concerned. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And we can see that his mugshot here, which he's already turned into merchandise, apparently. So he's making money off his own mugshot. I mean, this is a man, this is a businessman who can turn anything into gold.
Well, the optics here, I think the optics here, my dad will be at home writing me out of his will now. Not that he has one, because he really does not like Trump. But however, the optics here are brilliant. He smashed this straight away. He saw what was happening yesterday. He got hold of he went straight on Twitter, something he hasn't done for a very long time, hit the biggest audience as possible and said, this is me I'm happy with it. He also, quite clearly, I think, probably lied about his weight and height, which was excellent. He might not have done, actually, because he has lost a lot of weight since he was
is this like, it says big fat lies, like he'd lied about his weight and said he was heavier than he was, which is the opposite of what people normally do. I mean, was this a lie, or did he just...
No, he came in at 215 pounds, which is almost exactly what I was before I lost all this weight and looked like the amazing Louis Schaefer that we know out there.
All right, enough about Louis Schaefer. What about Donald Trump?
Donald Trump, if he weighs 215 pounds, it's quite possible because he is a fat. The interesting thing about Donald Trump is, and I am anti-fat. I think everyone should be anti-fat as a political statement because it's one of the few things that we can control against the state.
Yeah, everybody should be anti-fat. There's personal responsibility. You don't have to eat that burger. But Donald Trump has been cutting down on these burgers. So did he lie about his weight? Did he say he was heavier?
I think that he basically, he might weigh this much.
He's a tall man.
Did they weigh him? Was there
one
a
of you
weighing
just
in?
tell me what
Was there a weighing? I don't know. Was there a weighing in thing? I don't know if there was a weighing
so did he say when he was originally...
I know this. He told them his weight was 215 pounds.
Right.
And
did he weigh in heavier?
So they know that he's been heavier in the past, and they showed this in a number of other papers. They've showed a side profile of Trump in his last days in office, and he did look a lot bigger than 215 pounds. But the genius of this is that even us three are arguing over what his weight and height might be.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the fact that he's been got a mugshot for being arrested for...
And I'll tell you what, whatever his weight and height are, at least he can form a cogent sentence. He can speak. He can stay upright for more than 10 minutes. I mean, these are things that are apparently valuable in a president.
No, they're not, and that is the thing. That's why they want Joe Biden, because somebody else is controlling him. He's being controlled by the World Economic Forum, by his boy, his man, Barack Obama. Barack Obama.
Yeah, Barack Obama. I mean, that's speculation, Lewis. I should probably point out.
You're seeing it as a negative thing. I think I was so disappointed in this picture because I don't know whether thank you very much. Because he's scowling. He's scowling.
Looks a bit like
and he does really amazing hair. And
all of a sudden he's Trump's biggest fan.
And there's the mugshot again. Yes, he is scowling, but he does look like he's lost weight. But to be honest, at his age, losing weight isn't always a positive thing. When you meet somebody who loses that much weight, you're sort of like, is it good or is it, are you ill? Anyway, moving on. Lewis, what's the Times got in the front cover?
Oh, the Times. I tell you, the Times is the #1 drug pusher of all publications, and the #1 drug pusher in the entire country. Every single time I'm on here, they have some drug story.
People are interested in new drugs. There's new drugs coming out. Tell us about this new drug.
It's Wegovy. It's the old drug. It's Ozempic, which is the weight loss drug. They're saying it holds the key to heart failure cure, and they're saying people who are taking Ozempic, which is the drug that was actually supposed to give for people who are diabetic and not just weight loss, is actually helps people with their heart. But the point is, and I am an expert in this, I am a doctor.
You're not a doctor.
I am a doctor. Don't you dare.
You're not even one of those made-up doctors that download something off the internet. You're not even a Dr. Shola Moss Shogba Mimu. You're
like self-identified as a doctor, and I don't want you to tell me that I'm not. But I know a lot of stuff. The thing that I know is this, is that what is diabetes? Diabetes is too much sugar in the bloodstream. So your body...
Look, we know what diabetes is, but like, this isn't about diabetes. This is about these weight loss drugs helping people with heart disease.
And the point is that heart disease is a symptom of diabetes, as is cancer, as is Alzheimer's disease, as is psoriasis. All the things that I had are symptoms of diabetes. If you have any one of these diseases, you have diabetes.
And does this weight loss drug help by just purely by losing weight, so it's less strain on the heart?
It makes you, okay, one final point. It makes you not hungry.
I hope it's the point I asked about.
It delays your gastrointestinal tract.
Right, okay, that's great. But it helps with heart disease. Is that just because you lose weight, or is there another?
Because you've stopped eating. It's not about losing weight. It's you've stopped eating, so your body has more room to store fat. So the fat turns, so the sugar.
So if you stop eating, there's more room for your body to store fat.
Why don't you listen?
Why don't you answer the question?
I think you're fat.
I'm not fat.
I think you're fat.
I think you're old.
Yeah, I am old. I'm 66 years old.
I'm not fat. Look at me.
No,
you're like 6'6".
You've got your waist. You should measure this thing and don't tell me about this thing.
Well, I'm not transparent. You see, I've got that's my ribs.
I don't care. I'm going to say that you're fat.
Okay, well, moving on. Paul, what's on the cover of The Guardian? I hope it's not more insults for me.
No, and I can confirm Leo is not fat. British Museum.
Why can you confirm it? You know nothing about this.
Paul is my personal trainer.
He's got like a 30-inch waist.
But
anyway, this is not about.
But it's got like a 90-inch
What am I using my
stomach?
time to defend Leo for? I've got some more British Museum boss stuff.
Because of all the people here, he's got the most future of any.
Luis, we're doing a television show.
Yeah, it's live, remember? British Museum boss.
Wait. Can't that bit be cut out?
No. British.
Wait. Are you saying this is live?
This is unbelievable. British Museum boss steps down over thefts scandal. So this is the British Museum again. We have covered this a couple of times, but the reason we've covered it so many times is it's quite an important story. It gains a lot of traction on social media. People are really interested, and it keeps evolving as well. Now what we haven't got, at first we had these thefts and things were taken. We didn't know who. Then we found out who, and now we're finding out that because he was able to do it so successfully for so long, despite being told, despite whistleblowers telling the bosses this is happening, you might want to pay attention. They didn't, and now the big boss, which is a guy called Hartwig Fisher, which is the most genuinely the most middle-class name I've ever heard in my life, and his boy, who isn't mentioned here, has also stepped back, his deputy, because they were told this stuff was going on. And of course, two things are going on here. This country doesn't like snitches, so we don't listen to whistleblowers. But at the same time, these people, particularly the Hartwigs of this world, love to protect their reputation.
Well, and also these people were stealing from. It wasn't a victimless crime. They weren't stealing from a faceless corporation. They were stealing the artifacts that are this nation's heritage and some other nation's heritage as well. But mostly our nation's heritage. So this is something that people should listen to whistleblowers.
They should be put to death. This is one of those crimes that there should be a death penalty. When you steal from a museum or you steal from a library and you don't return it, these are death penalty offences.
I don't know about the library.
No, I think that they're death penalty. And I think every single week there's another one of these stories. They've asked somebody resign. What about firing people? Okay, if you're not going to kill them.
Yeah. It feels like even when people resign, like Dame Alison Rose resigned, but she gets 12 months' notice or something and gets like millions of pounds. It's like and whenever I've been fired from jobs, it's never like that. It's always like, there's the door, we're not giving you any money. Anyway, that's it for part one. But coming up, we've got slavery reparations, a woman punching a horse, and an Islamic theocracy in Europe. See you in a couple of minutes.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Monday to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, no, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the people's channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Leo Kearson. I'm still here with Paul Cox and Lewis Schaefer, kicking things off in this section with the Metro. And good news for a group of public sector workers who are struggling with the cost of living crisis, Paul.
Yeah, there's a lot to this story, and I'll try and cover it. MPs who lose their seat in the next general election are set to receive double financial support. So let me just characterise what that really means. So winding down payments is what they're called. They're designed to help departing MPs because, of course, they lose their job, they've got to go.
Yeah.
And they usually get 2 months. So up until this particular term, they've been getting 2 months of their wages. However, they won't get it if they stand down before the end. So no one's going to stand down, let's be honest, because at this point they're just going to see it out, or they're going to defect to another party or whatever it might be. There's a couple of things going on here. I think 2 months seemed a lot less than I imagined it would be.
Yeah.
So 4 months doesn't actually sound that bad to me. However, when you understand an MP's pay, let's say in the round it's about £80,000, but they also get lots of allowances. So they get allowances for living in London. They get allowances for working from their home. If they're clever, they barely have to spend any of their £80,000 salary. So over a 4 or 5 year term, you should, if you're not stupid, be able to put about 200k of that to one side. So I would argue.
But, I mean, you'd also argue that, some people would argue, I would definitely argue that we want the best people to become politicians.
Genuinely.
I don't believe we're getting the best people at the moment.
No.
And if you want somebody to come from, a high-flying job, somebody who's really smart, I mean, Sajid Javid took a 98% pay cut to become a politician. So we're really not reimbursing them, in accordance, on the same level as, the top legal profession or financial profession.
Yeah, but what is the purpose of this money? I read this, that the purpose of this money is to keep them in their seats until the end of the term so they don't have by-elections.
Oh, really? To stop them dropping out?
Because they want to dropping out. So they're saying, we're going to give you an extra 2 months, but stay till the end, because if you leave now, we're going to have a by-election and we'll be totally embarrassed.
I mean, we've seen, particularly as you get close to a general election, by-elections can be very embarrassing for the government. We've just had, three just about a month ago.
And the interesting thing was, it wasn't approved by the parliamentarians. It was approved by this independent, quote-unquote, independent body. And it's basically giving them free money. Something like this happened in Southwark Council, my council, where they gave £5,000 to a cabinet member who was basically kicked out of office because he had lied and he was bullying. He had set up a Twitter account to bully residents secretly. So a secret Twitter account. You can go to Private Eye and look the thing up. Amazing. In Southwark. And they gave him $5,000 when they should have put him in
Always seems to be the way with public sector workers, always getting a healthy payoff when they leave their jobs. Anyway, The Telegraph now, and a one-woman remake of Smack the Pony didn't go down well, Lewis.
Yes, and I couldn't watch this because I love animals.
Right.
And and
you hate women.
And I hate to say it, this is one of those stories, is Hunt's woman cleared of animal cruelty after being filmed striking a pony. She was on a hunt, and the pony, she left a child holding on to the pony. I don't know, but it wasn't quite a pony. These are big animals.
Yeah, it looked big. It looked like a horse. I don't know what the difference is, but
I don't know what the difference is. Her name is Sarah Mold, and the horse broke away, and she went up to the horse and she smacked the horse 4 times and hit the horse, and so the RSPCA set up a private prosecution. It was filmed by the anti-hunts people.
The saboteurs.
But the truth is this, and I think this is, I don't want to get into too much trouble, but the greatness of women is they basically humanify, adultify animals and children.
Right.
They think the child knows more than they do. How many times have you seen a mother smacking a kid or yelling at a kid or talking to a kid like they're an adult, and they're not an adult, they're a little child, or talking to an animal, and this is what this woman did. This woman thought, okay, I'm going to...
Well, because her defence was that the horse or pony had wandered into the road, which is dangerous, so she was training it like you'd train a dog. So, but on the picture I saw, it did look like she was a drunk Glaswegian taking a swing at a horse.
You have to see the video, really. It was the most middle-class thing I've ever seen. She back and forehand the horse 4 times. So what? Like a lord, sorting out a peasant. Wrong, you Wally, or whatever they say. However, there is a little bit of context to this, because there is 2 sides. No one's condoning. I mean, none of us are country people.
I am.
Well, maybe you are. I like to spend time in the country, but I'm not someone who's ever had to look after animals. So perhaps there are ways and means of looking after animals that would seem very strange to the rest of us.
Yeah.
Also, this lady has not been convicted of anything, and she's lost everything. So she lost her job. She was obviously vilified. And we all know that these saboteurs are very emotional and passionate about this stuff. So they really went for her. And the RSPCA, who are a great bunch of people, but they took this action themselves, and it hasn't paid off. So a charity has lost money.
Yeah.
This woman has lost her job. No good has come of this at all.
Well, I bet the horse is happy. Anyway, The Guardian now with a demand for slavery reparations. I assume The Guardian will be first in the queue to pay them, given it was founded with slave money, Paul.
Well, very good point. As always, Leo. Ghanaia's president asked European slave traders, their descendants at least, to pay reparations. I wanted to make sure I said that right. I just about did. So the president is a guy called Irfan Ali, and he is also demanding posthumous charges for crimes against humanity for traders and enslavers. Now, I'm going to take a wild punt here and say this particular chap is not interested in anything other than money. Really? Well, I'm going to go out there. I don't care what comes of it. That's what I think. I mean, there isn't a single person alive today that is responsible for any of these things. Now, you can look at this from a moral perspective and say what happened 200-300 years ago was abhorrent. And it was abhorrent, certainly by today's standards. We've said it a million times. The British stopped slavery, or certainly were in charge of the people that tried to. We also lost thousands of men in the Royal Navy trying to stop...
British men spilt their blood stopping slavery. It seems ridiculous to turn around to Britain and say, oh, you know that thing that you died and you spent money stopping? Well, you got to give us more money.
But you were wrong, Paul.
Again?
That's
3 times tonight, Lewis.
Because you're totally wrong. Because the people what's big in the news is intergenerational descendable trauma. It's the trauma. I'm a descendant of slaves. The Jews are descendants. We were slaves in Egypt, and Jews are like mental. I mean that in a nice way to my fellow Jews. But it has affected us, so you can understand how it could affect the Guyanese. It could have affected them.
Are Jews going to ask for reparations from whoever, the Egyptians, the pharaohs?
Well, we'd at least like to be paid for building the pyramids. We never got paid for that.
Oh, you did a great job.
The pyramids. Come on.
No, it wasn't aliens. It had to do with the gravity was smaller.
But yeah, where does this stop? Because I mean, we heard Barbary slavers coming up to the UK and taking Brits as slaves. We had the Vikings enslaving people. We had the Romans enslaving Brits. So is Britain going to get lots of reparations?
Right. And what about the countries that they came from? They were stolen and kidnapped by the same countries that they demand money from.
So perhaps Guyana's president should be paying reparations to the descendants of slavery.
Well, it's always going to be a circle, isn't it? It's always going to come back around to the people who demand it. And of course, the practicality of this is the only way you can raise that funds is through taxes. Yeah. So you'd have to tax British people, maybe even 1% of their salary to pay for this.
Well, because they're talking about trillions. So it would be 100% of our salary for some centuries to come.
Yeah.
Sounds ridiculous. Anyway, we've got the Times now, and the French president wants to bring back traditional values. Sounds like he's shutting the stable door after the horse has been eaten by Frenchmen.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure you can even call these people. Okay, so it's Emmanuel Macron. France needs to be re-civilized in the Times. Be re-civilized. I don't know. I don't know if he said that because he was speaking in a foreign language, and maybe they don't have civilized is not a word in French. And I don't know.
It's probably a French word.
I know. That's that joke about the French don't have a word for entrepreneur. I was making a joke, but he did say, oh my God, he did say that the people who were rioting in the recent riots, that their problem was they spent too much time watching their computer screens and not enough time in school.
I think the problem was they weren't spending enough time watching computer screens, and instead they were outside in the street setting fire to cars.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Macron's essentially admitted here that his country's feral.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, this is how blind he is to the social politics going on in France at the moment. He's created a number of these problems, and now he's saying to solve it, we need more schooling and less screens. When was this guy last informed of anything? I mean, this is like something from the 1800s. The future is our children working on screens. Whether we like it or not, we have to socialise screens. We have to get people in front of screens. They're at screens at school. Now, you can argue they shouldn't be on it at dinner and they should be taught basic manners. But outside of that, it's not going to solve anything.
But there's also a point that everybody seems to willfully ignore, which is the fact that the rioters... I'm going to say it. The rioters...
Don't say it. We know exactly what caused this. You don't need to say it.
No, I'm going to say it.
You don't.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
They do know. Everybody who's watching knows.
I don't know.
Of course I'm going to say. So it's immigrants, and he's saying first and second, or second and third generation immigrants.
I'm not
saying the children of it. No, I'm saying, like, looking at I saw footage of the rioters. There weren't very many white middle-class French faces there. So France has got huge social divisions between the banlieue, where it's not like Britain where everybody's sort of mixed in together. They've got the banlieue, which are sort of ghettos on the outskirts of the city, and they've put huge amounts of resources into rejuvenating and providing opportunities, but there still seems to be this harsh division between the migrant families and traditional French families.
And this was a case that has been made to me about the benefits of having council estates in rich areas. Because in this country, you're either in a council estate looking at the castle, or you're living in the castle and you're looking at a council. But in France, it's not that.
But I think the people in France and the people across Europe are starting to look to a different solution, which is to elect right-wing parties that are going to stem the flow of immigration, which seems to be, it's a logical solution if, we're having these riots. Anyway, moving on. Finally, we've got the Mail with the return of blasphemy laws in Denmark, Paul.
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. Denmark bans burning of the Quran after a string of desecrations in the country sparked anger in Muslim nations. The government will present a bill that will prohibit the inappropriate, now I don't know how we're going to determine that, inappropriate treatment of objects of significant religious importance to a religious community.
Right.
This is blasphemy law via the back door, and it's something that we got rid of many, many years ago for a very good reason. Not because people are disrespectful towards religion or people, but because it frees people up to live freer, free speech lives. And that's exactly what we're looking for here. Now, of course, it's not nice, but no one's got the right not to be offended. It isn't pleasant to see the Quran get burned in the same way it's not pleasant to see Harry Potter or a Beatles album get burned. But at the end of the day, that's people, how they express themselves, and I just don't like anything that stands in front of that.
Well, it's bringing magic, it's bringing the metaphysical realm into the real world. It's saying this book is special and magic, and if you do anything to it, then it's going to anger the sky god.
The problem is that human beings believe in the magical. We believe we have different religions, whether it's those religions or whether it's the religion of climate change.
But the truth stands up, doesn't
it? Or whether it's religion that Donald Trump is going to save us. We all have religions, and
Donald Trump is at least based in some evidence.
I am a free speech absolutist, but you don't do something, free speech absolute, but you don't do something that you don't shout fire in a...
But they didn't do that. Nobody's being harmed by what he's doing. He's literally just burning a book.
It is hurting people. It's causing...
It's hurting their feelings.
It's not hurting people. Other people are doing the hurting based on their whatever voodoo they believe in.
You know what? I'd like to say we can all get along kumbaya, but at some point we've got to...
That's like saying, the victim of domestic violence is at fault because he doesn't like tuna casserole. It's an absolute nonsensical position. You can't put other people's actions, the responsibility for them on somebody who hasn't directed.
But if the man throws the tuna casserole into the bin, then he deserves whatever's going to come to him. There shouldn't be a law that says a man should be allowed to throw the tuna casserole that his wife lovingly made for him, that he doesn't respect or love.
What if he bought his own tuna casserole and then throws it into the bin? Or accidentally burns it in the oven? Should he then go to jail? Should he be flogged? Should he be buried up to his waist and stoned to death? That's the direction Europe's going in.
If it was money that could have gone to his wife, yes.
No, it's a nonsensical argument. Anyway, that's it for part 2. In part 3, we've got radioactive curries, civil war in America, and an outrage over a kiss. See you after the weather.
Aye.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, I'm Alex Deakin, and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a bank holiday for many, and the weather's going to be mixed. There'll be some sun, there'll be some heavy showers, never particularly warm. Monday does look dry for many. We've got high pressure nearby, but for the time being, low pressure is still dominating. It's been generating some heavy showers through the day and will continue to do so overnight. We have a Met Office yellow warning in place across parts of southeast Scotland. Slow-moving, thundery showers here could cause a bit of disruption. Elsewhere, the showers are moving a bit more, but still some heavy ones over northwest England through the night, staying pretty wet across northern Scotland. A cool night as well. Single figures in rural spots, 10 to 12 in most towns and cities. Saturday will start dry with some sunshine over the Midlands, East Anglia, the southeast of England, and much of southern Scotland may well stay fine. But northwest Scotland wet and windy, and elsewhere, look at this, the heavy showers just develop as we go through the day. So dodging the downpours on Saturday afternoon. There will be some sunshine between the showers and temperatures getting up into the high teens, maybe low 20s across the southeast. So generally cool for the time of year. A cool start to Sunday. Again, many will start dry, fine with some sunshine, but again, the shower clouds will develop through the day. Perhaps not as many as on Saturday, and parts of Wales may well have a dry afternoon before more cloud and rain comes into the northwest later on. And again, for most places, on the cool side. Goodbye.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real, robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often there will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Daily Mail now, and I've had a few curries that felt nuclear on the way out, but these women actually had radioactive chapatis, Lewis.
Yes, this is an interesting story because I don't understand it. It's a search for more than 20 Coventry women who were fed radioactive chapatis, which are bread in the 1960s as part of a quote-unquote horrifying, quote-unquote deeply disturbing experiment. And so there were 20 women, and that there was a thing that was done at the time. They were tested, and they were given chapatis with something called iron-69, which is radioactive iron, because they were trying to kill. Wait. Because they were trying to kill these women.
No, they weren't. They were looking at iron absorption.
So why would they be?
They were looking at iron absorption into the blood. But it is the sort of thing where you should really tell people up front that you're feeding them radioactive chapatis.
Well, you should do that, but I don't think they thought it was probably anything the matter with the radioactive chapati, because they do that giving people barium. They give tests. They should have been informed, but this was the 1960s. They did horrible things. The point is...
Well, yeah, they said the researchers...
Would you let me finish?
The researchers followed the guidelines of the time.
Sorry for saying you were fat. It said the purpose of the experiment. He's going to punish me for it. This is why I'm never going to host, because he'll be on, he'll be destroying me.
I don't think that's the reason, Lewis.
All right, so I'm not meant to. Anyway, the purpose of the experiment was to track how iron was absorbed in South Asian women due to concerns about anemia in the population they were actually caring about.
So they were trying to help them, but they accidentally fed them radiation instead. Anyway, the Telegraph now with a shocking case of nepotism in football.
Yeah, Mike Dean admits he failed to intervene on a VAR decision to protect his mate, Anthony Taylor. So Mike Dean is now a retired referee. VAR is, of course, video assistant referee. And the great thing about technology is it's only as good as the human that's using it. And what Mike Dean here is, it was a very experienced referee, a very emotional and sort of flamboyant referee as well. It was involved as a VAR assistant referee in a game between Tottenham and Chelsea last season, which was a really tumultuous game. And essentially, partway through the game, there was a decision where he could have asked Anthony Taylor, who was the referee on pitch, and a mate of his as well, to go and look at the screen because there had been an incident. And he basically said, don't worry about it, carry on, because he wanted to save his mate from any further nuisance, essentially, throughout this game. So
was he helping out a player on the pitch?
He was helping out his referee. He was helping out the referee. So there'd been quite a tumultuous game. It's a derby, Chelsea-Tottenham. It was very fiery. There'd been a particular incident. Really, he should have instructed the referee to go and look at the screen because there had been something that the referee hadn't seen. He chose not to because he wanted to save his mate from any more bother.
And the essence of this story, Leo, is that the refs are a team of themselves. It's like they're not on any side. There are three teams that are out on the pitch. It was Team A, Team B, and then the refs. And it's totally serious. It's like when the cops are dealing with in marital disputes or whatever. They're on their own side.
OK, well, staying with football, we've got the Mirror now, and a Spanish football chief is in deep trouble over a kiss. Is this the death of love, Lewis?
In a way, it's the universalization. These are Spanish people. A Spain World Cup star insists she didn't consent to Luis Rubiales' kiss, and 81 of the players are boycotting. And I saw the thing, and he basically grabbed her by the head and gave her a big kiss on the lips, the way I've kissed Paul many times.
And this is after their World Cup victory, so emotions are high, so he grabbed her and...
And they're Spanish. These people are like crazy. They're animals. They're used to showing emotion. They're not like English people. You barely get a handshake out of an English person, or they even barely look at you. You just went like this. I can't say what happened, because from the woman's point of view, it could have been horrific.
Well, she said she didn't consent to it, and she says
was it horrific? Lots of people do things.
I think the answer to that is yes, actually. I mean, it was beyond a kiss.
Yeah.
It was the sort of thing you might do if you were married. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. I need a vaccination. It's the sort of thing.
And Lewis needs an HR lawyer.
Do you know what? I'm surprised she wasn't pregnant. I might well be now after that.
But yeah, it didn't go down well in Spain. Anyway, The Guardian now with concerns that the political persecution of Trump isn't bringing the USA together to heal, Paul.
No, oh my God. I'm still getting over it. I'm traumatised. I actually quite enjoyed it. Sarah Palin says US civil war is going to happen over Trump prosecutions. Now, she's saying that a second US civil war is likely to happen if they continue with these sort of federal and state and federal authorities continue to prosecute Donald Trump. Now, this is in The Guardian. They're saying it with a sort of a barbed tongue in cheek, as if to say it's Sarah Palin. She's obviously stupid. She doesn't know what she's talking about. However, this is really serious. I mean, there are tens of millions of supporters who take what happens to Donald Trump, very seriously. Now, I don't believe he instigated the 6th of January. Sorry, Dad. I don't believe it. But however, the people that did instigate it were Trump fans. Yeah. And if it carries on down the path it's going and they keep prosecuting him, and by the way, I think this is the stupidest thing anyone has ever done. It is election interference. There's no two ways about it. It's no coincidence that what's going to happen to Trump is going to happen so that he can't really campaign. And let's face it, he's going to be the Republican nominee. There's no two ways about it. And if they continue this way, there are going to be tens and millions of angry people.
Yeah, I mean, this seems to be really backfiring. They're persecuting Trump, or at least that's how it's seen by Trump supporters, when they could have just let it simmer down and let his fan base, lose the passion, let the steam come out of that. Instead, they're pumping it up.
Well, first of all, this is not a real story, because there may be a civil war. There could be a civil war, possibly be a civil war. She said that if this keeps up, it may happen. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that Sarah Palin said there's going to be a civil war. Like it doesn't.
But there's certainly a lot of animosity.
Of acrimony. Yeah. But the Guardian is wrong by saying there's going to be a civil war.
But Lewis,
personally, I think there's going to be a civil war.
And you remember the first civil war, so. Anyway,
at least I'm not fat, Leo.
I'm not fat. Anyway, that's it for part 3, but don't go to sleep yet. After the break, we've got rude chefs, killer whales living up to their name, and guess what? Paper straws are now bad for the environment. See you in a couple of minutes.
Was that...
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Put your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference. And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Times now, and one of the country's smartest men tells us not to trust scientists because they were wrong on COVID. I'm way ahead of him, Lewis.
I was just, oh yes, don't trust AI. Scientists on AI is they got COVID wrong. Says, I read this headline, this is the Times. I thought, well, that's great, they got COVID wrong. Yeah, they totally got COVID wrong. It's like not a thing, basically, and I don't believe in viruses. But they did get it wrong, and this is the ex-MI6 chief. MI5 is local, MI6 is international. One is the CIA, one is the FBI, basically. This guy, Richard Dearlove, and he says, but he got it wrong the reverse way, because he says scientists are predicting gloom and doom with AI, and we shouldn't worry about it. But the truth is, every time I see one of these stories, I do a little AI check of myself to see whether they're right about me. And according to this, is comedian Louis Schaefer a meat eater?
Right.
Okay, that's...
AI should be able to get that if it's so smart.
It should be able to get that. I do not have access to specific information on Louis Schaefer's dietary preferences or personal choices. So if they can't get that right...
There's loads they can't get right. And we've seen, Paul, in the last few weeks, a lot of cases of of AI-written articles and things like that being completely wrong. There was a tourist website in Canada that directed people to a food bank as one of the things to see in Toronto. And it said bring a hearty appetite.
Did it? I didn't see that. That's brilliant. I mean,
technically it's correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's quite refreshing that AI is as bad as I'd hoped it would be. Clearly it's not that bad, but I've always been fearful that it might take over the world. Yeah. And it's got a long way to go. I mean, it doesn't know if Lewis eats meat or not. I mean, that's ridiculous at this early stage. It should know that. This story's amazing, isn't it? I mean, MI6 tell us that scientists don't know what they're on about. I mean, that's a big story.
Yeah, that's surely got to have more plausibility than just some random crank on YouTube saying it. Yeah. So yeah, this is quite interesting.
Me, and I say that every single time, every single show.
Yeah, you were the random crank I was talking about.
Oh,
anyway, we've got The Guardian now, and it seems that Britain is officially losing its politeness, Paul. Well, definitely isn't this show tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Failure to say please is not rude in top kitchens. Tribunal rules. So this is an employment judge has dismissed the case of a London chef who was sacked for refusing tasks until he was asked politely. I mean, what a passive-aggressive Wally. You can just imagine what it might have been like to work with him. I consider myself genuinely a very polite person. I go out of my way to say please and thank you. But I'm really glad this case has gone the way that it has, because, do you know what? If you take away rudeness, it's going to kill the British service industry. Because that's what we rely on. Rudeness is our forte. We need to be able to be rude. We can't be polite all the time. It's painful.
Yeah. Lewis, has politeness ever been something you've thought about?
Well, do you want to know something? This is just one of those things. It's like, why should there be a tribunal? When this woman was hired, did she? It's a woman, not a man. Bridget
I got it wrong. Sorry.
Peters. Did she go to a tribunal to get hired? Why should she go to a tribunal? Was there racism? They accused him of racism for firing her. But was it racism that hired her? Was it racism that fired her? There should be no tribunals. It should be, if you want to get fired, if they want to fire you, if they want to hire you, they should just fire you and hire you.
And we've got the Daily Mail next, and paper straws are now bad for the environment. It looks like we were sucking our gin and tonics through paper mache for no reason, Lewis.
Yeah, well, it's basically everything that man makes is bad, and that includes all food. And first of all, you shouldn't be drinking out of a straw. There's something unnecessary about it. Yeah. Whatever happened to a cup? Whatever happened to just using your hands? Whatever happened to not drinking and making
sure scoop a gin and tonic out of the glass with your hand?
Yeah, whatever.
Like a cowboy as a watering hole.
But you know what? We don't need glasses. If food were moist enough because it was fresh food and not processed sugary type food. And that's what this is. It's now and this is also, it says paper straws are cancelled, according to...
And what's the reason for cancelling them?
Because they've got PFASs, which are they're chemicals that are called forever chemicals.
And they're bad for the environment?
And they're bad for your health by eating them.
And they're bad for us as well.
But what they're proposing is use a stainless steel straw. Have you ever seen anybody drinking out of a stainless steel straw?
Somebody died. They tripped over. It was a former jockey, I believe. They tripped over and the stainless steel straw went into their brain and killed them. And also plastic straws. I got accused of using a plastic straw. They said that's single-use plastic. I was like, what do you mean? They said, well, after you've used it to drink your gin and tonic, it's going to go into the sea and kill a turtle. I said, well, then it's not single-use plastic. I'm using it right now to drink a gin and tonic, and later on I'm killing a turtle with it.
Wait. Leo was kidding.
Yeah, you should point out. Case to the RSPCA.
Lewis has just done an off comment.
I've got to watch out for Leo.
Well,
Leo, he's wild. Sorry for interrupting.
Let's see if we can fit this final story in. We've got the Mail again, and it looks like Robocop will actually have a Scottish accent, Paul.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. I mean, one of my favourite stories, I think. Scotland police are looking at plans for high-tech glasses which could provide facial recognition, instantly translating languages and even reading lips. So this is classic SNP Scotland for me. In a bid to be desperately, performatively good in some way. They've created essentially racist glasses to tell you if someone's speaking a foreign language.
Have they got an English accent?
Yeah.
We need to deport them.
Exactly. I mean, these magic glasses are going to tell people, oh, foreign language must be bad. What are they saying? Let's check that they're not criminals. It's brilliant. Honestly, I can't... This is such a wonderful story about SNP Scotland because they can sort all this out themselves.
Well, this is the sort of thing you can spend money on if you've got Westminster bankrolling you and handing you £15 billion in the Barnett formula. We've got to finish, unfortunately. The show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Saturday's front pages. The Mirror leads with big fat lies. Trump mugs off America. The Times has weight loss drugs hold key to heart failure cure. The Guardian leads with British museum boss steps down over theft scandal. The Daily Mail leads with killed in his own home by gang of dog nappers. The Daily Express has murdered in his own home by dog nappers. And finally, the Daily Star leads with what a mug! Donald Grump, man baby, sulks in jail. And those were your front pages. And that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you to my guests Paul and Lewis. And we're back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Andrew Doyle, Lewis and Cressida Wetton. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Thanks for watching. I've been Leo Kearse. Good night.
I'm sorry.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, I'm Alex Deakin, and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. It's a bank holiday for many, and the weather's going to be mixed. There'll be some sun, there'll be some heavy showers, never particularly warm. Monday does look dry for many. We've got high pressure nearby, but for the time being, low pressure is still dominating. It's been generating some heavy showers through the day and will continue to do so overnight. We have a Met Office yellow warning in place across parts of southeast Scotland. Slow moving thundery showers here could cause a bit of disruption. Elsewhere, the showers are moving